You're thinking about buying a house in Japan, but the whole process feels a bit overwhelming? Don't worry, I'm here to break it all down for you in a way that's easy to follow. This video is all about how foreigners can buy property in Japan, and I'll make sure to keep it simple, clear, and up to date for 2025. I've done a couple of videos like this before, but this time I'm bringing you the latest info to make your journey as smooth as possible. But before we dive into the details, let me quickly introduce myself. I run a real estate agency called Hanabusa Corporation, and we are specializing in foreigners like you buy, sell, and invest in properties here in Japan. We also offer mortgage support and advice on income generating properties. We mainly cover Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, and Chiba. Alright, let's get into the good stuff. First things first, here's some great news. Whether you live in Japan or not, as a foreigner, you can buy property here under the exact same conditions as Japanese citizens. Unlike some countries that restrict foreign ownership or add extra taxes for non-locals, Japan doesn't do any of that. You're treated just like a local when it comes to buying and owning property. Pretty awesome, right? Now let's talk about the actual process. There are two main ways to buy a house in Japan: paying cash or using a mortgage. I'll walk you through both step by step. If you're planning to pay in cash, the process is pretty straightforward. Here's how it works. First, you need to find a property that fits your needs. You can do this by searching online, working an agent like me, or even checking out properties in person or via video call if you're not in Japan. Once you find something you like, next step is to submit a purchase offer. This is basically a document submission where you outline your proposed purchase price and any conditions you might have. But here's the thing, most of the time your agent negotiates the price over the phone call before even submitting this offer. Once the seller accepts your offer, it's time to sign some contracts. There are two main contracts you'll deal with. The first is the brokerage contract, which is between you and the real estate agency. That's us if you're working with us. This contract basically says that we'll help you through the buying process or selling process, and in return you'll pay us a commission fee. That fee is usually 3% of the property price plus 60,000 yen plus 10% consumption tax. For properties under 8 million, though, the fee is flat 330,000 yen, including consumption tax. The second contract is the sales contract, which is between you and the seller. Before you sign this, we'll go through something called important explanation. This is where we break down all the details about the property, like legal staff, special conditions, and anything else you need to know. Both of these contracts can be done online, so even if you're not in Japan, you can still move forward with the purchase. At this point, you also need to pay a deposit called tetsukekin, which is usually around 5 to 10% of property price. This deposit acts as sort of safety net. If you decide to cancel the contract, the seller keeps the deposit as a cancellation fee. But if the seller cancels, they have to pay you double the deposit back. So it's a way to protect both parties. Once the contracts are signed, we move on to the settlement. This is where the payment, ownership transfer, and key handover all happen. For most properties, this can happen on the same day as a contract signing, but for newly built houses, it might take 1 to 2 weeks because the building details need to be registered under the new owner's name. Now about the payment, if you're in Japan, you can pay via cash or bank transfer. If you're overseas, you have a few options. You can use an escrow account, which is secure but comes with extra fees, or you can send the money through our company's brokerage account, which is what most of our clients do. Some people also use a friend or family member's Japanese bank account. Sending money directly from overseas to the seller's account can be tricky because of exchange rate fluctuations and delays, so it's not the most practical option right now. Once the payment is confirmed, A juridical scrivener or 司法書士 will handle the ownership transfer. You'll get the keys, and about a month later, you receive a 登記識別情報通知 registration notice that officially confirms you as the new owner. And that's it. You're done. The whole process can take as little as 1 to 2 weeks, but let's be honest, the find the right property is usually what takes the most time. Now, if you're planning to use a mortgage or home loan, the process is a bit more complicated, but don't worry, I'll guide you through it. First, let's talk about the eligibility requirements. To qualify for mortgage in Japan, you need to meet a few basic conditions. 1. You must be at least 20 years old. 2. You need to be working and paying taxes in Japan. You can't have any unpaid taxes or national health insurance bills. 4th, your credit history needs to be clean. No late payments on credit cards, phone bills, or anything like that. There are also a couple of additional factors that can make a big difference. 1. Permanent residency or Japanese citizenship will make things much easier. Some banks do accept long-term visa holders, but they'll likely require higher income and a larger down payment, which is around 20%. Number 2, stable employment is a key. Most banks prefer to see at least 3 years of continuous employment at the same company. If you've just changed jobs, it may affect your application. Once you've checked those boxes, here's how the process works. Step 1, get pre-approved. This is where you apply for mortgage pre-approval to find out how much you can borrow. It usually takes 3 days to 2 weeks, depending on the bank. You need to provide documents like your tax certificate, ID, and residence certificate. Step 2, find a property. Once you know your budget, you can start looking for properties that feature criteria. Things like location, size, and distance to workplace. Most real estate agencies use the same database called range, so the listings are pretty much the same across the board. Step 3, submit a purchase offer. When you find a property you like, you submit a purchase offer. You usually negotiate the price over the phone call before submitting the formal offer. Step 4, sign contracts. You sign a brokerage contract with us and a sales contract with a seller. At this stage, you also pay the deposit 5 to 10% of property price. Even if you are getting a 100% mortgage loan, you still need to cover the deposit yourself. So make sure you've got this saved up. If you need to borrow it, it's better to ask family or friends rather than a bank, as taking out another loan could hurt your mortgage approval. Step 5, final mortgage approval. After signing the contract, you go through the final mortgage approval process. This is where the bank double check all your documents and make sure everything's in order. If you've already been pre-approved, this step is usually pretty smooth. Step 6, move your residence certificate. Before signing the mortgage contract, you need to update your residence certificate or 주민票to your new address. This makes the paperwork easier down the line. Step 7, sign the mortgage contract. Once everything's approved, you sign the mortgage contract with the bank. At this point, you'll also be asked to buy group credit life insurance, which pays off the loan if something happens to you. Some banks also offer optional coverage for critical illnesses like cancer, which can be a good idea if you want extra peace of mind. Step 8, payment and handover. The bank will transfer the funds and juridical scrivener will handle the title transfer and mortgage registration. You get the keys and the process is complete. Now let's talk about the costs. Buying a house in Japan isn't just about property price. There's a few other expenses you need to budget for. Number 1, property price. This one's obvious. Number 2, brokerage fee. This is usually 3% of the property price plus 60,000 yen plus 10% consumption tax. Number 3, registration fees. tax. These cover the cost of transferring ownership and setting up the mortgage. They're typically around 1.5% of the property price. Number 4, property tax adjustments. If you buy mid-year, you need to pay the property tax from the purchase day to the end of the year. Number 5, stamp duty tax. This is a tax on the contract. For properties under 50 million, it's 10,000 yen. For 50 to 100 million, it's 30,000 yen. And for 100 to 500 million, it's 60,000 yen. Please note that online contracts are exempt from this tax duty. If you're buying a newly built house, you need to pay around 150,000 yen to register the building. Number 7, mortgage fees. Some banks charge a fee, usually around 2.1% of the loan amount. Once you own the property, there are a few ongoing costs to keep in mind. For residential properties, you need to pay annual property tax, city planning tax, and fire insurance. If you're buying condo, there are also maintenance and repair fund fees. For investment properties, on top of the taxes and insurance, you have management fees, which is around 6% of annual rent, and maintenance costs for things like elevators. If the property gets vacant, you might also need to cover cleaning, renovation, and advertisement costs to find new tenants. Finally, let's talk about documents you need. The requirements vary depending on whether you're resident or non-resident and whether you're paying cash or using a mortgage. For non-residents who plan to buy in cash, number 1, passport. Number 2, secondly, identification like driver's license or national ID. Number 3, sworn affidavit, notarized in your home country. For residents who plan to buy in cash, number 1, ID, which includes driver's license card, my number card, or health insurance card. Number 2, resident certificate, which is Yumihyo. Number 3, seal registration or inkan shome for residents who plan to buy using a mortgage loan. Number 1, ID, including driver's license card, my number card, or health insurance card. Number 2, resident certificate, which is Zaidu card. Number 3, seal registration certificate, which is inkan shomesho. Number 4, tax certificate or kaze shomesho. Number 5, employment certificate. Number 6, monthly pay slips. Number 7, tax return documents if you're self-employed worker. Before we wrap up, let's tackle some commonly asked questions. Question: can I get a mortgage without a permanent residency? Answer: yes, but the conditions will be stricter. Higher interest rates and a larger down payments. Question: can the property be under both spouse names? Answer: yes. But for mortgages, both spouse must be co-borrowers. Question: can I get a mortgage if I live overseas? Answer: it's almost impossible unless your home country's bank has a branch in Japan. Question: can I buy a house with no savings? Answer: yes, with a 100%, but you still need to cover the deposit. Question: can I get a mortgage if I have other debt? Answer: it depends on the amount and the lender, but small debts are usually fine. Question: can you manage my vacation home or investment property? Answer: absolutely. We offer property management services for both. And that's it. Buying a house in Japan might seem complicated at first, but with the right preparation and guidance, it's totally doable. Watch this video a few times, take notes. You'll be ready to make your move. Good luck, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. See you in the next video.